It's time for Tidbit Tuesday. That was really good.
We practiced. We had one take and we scratched
We
it.
talked for like a minute and a half and we're like, this one is not working.
So it's not fair.
We went back, took some notes. This is the first Tidbit Tuesday we've prepared for. Hello and welcome to Tidbit Tuesday. I am Josh.
I'm Ashley.
And this is the show where we talk about stuff not exactly about travel, but sometimes tangential to travel. Today you're in for a treat because today's video is about travel.
Yeah.
And it's specifically about relationships and traveling with friends and people because Ashley came up with a great idea for a video.
Yeah, so I was thinking our videos are right now in Portugal and we have our friend Laura with us.
Right.
And we've traveled with Laura a few times. We've traveled with other friends a few times. And so I thought it would be good to think of like 5 different tips, 5 different things to consider when traveling with a friend or a significant other or whatever, just somebody else.
We've heard horror stories of friendships dissolved and blown up because of a bad trip together. And then also, of course, there's good experiences. And what we found in these good experiences is that people often have these 5 things in common. And Ashley has made a list, so let's go down it.
Yeah, so the first one when traveling with someone else is to consider their budget along with your own budget. So just know what your budgets are. Like say, are you gonna go out to eat so many nights a week? And if not, then who's gonna cook? Or are you gonna stay in hotels where there is no cooking facilities? Or are you gonna stay in a hostel where it's available? Just knowing where the other person is coming from and understanding that. Say you've saved for a whole year, but your friend saved for 3 months and doesn't have a ton of money. You can't just go and expect them to blow as much cash as you're going to blow.
Some people like to go shopping when they go traveling, and other people are like, I brought everything I need. I don't need anything here. Like, it's like it's a totally different mindset when you're thinking like I want to save money but still have fun. Or else like I'm on vacation. I've got $3,000 to spend and I need to blow it everywhere. It's a totally different mindset, and it can really hurt a relationship with your friend if you're the one spending a lot of money and the other person's kind of on the sidelines. And I don't know about you, but if someone else is like spending a lot of cash and they're like, oh, it's fine, I'll pay for you, then I start to feel a little bit like uncomfortable.
Yeah, or those freeloader friends who want you to pay for everything for them, and then you're like, what the heck?
You're like, excuse me, I saved up for this. Just because you didn't prepare doesn't mean that I should pay for everything, and that's a bad situation too.
So something on our trip to Portugal that we used is it's an app called SplitWise, and that's what we used along with Laura. So say we paid for a meal, then we would put it in SplitWise and split it 3 ways so that everybody's paying an even amount. That's pretty much how we worked the whole time. With gas, with the car rental, we just use SplitWise.
I mean, usually it's best if everyone just pays for themselves.
Yeah.
But a lot of places overseas don't like to split the check up, we've found, or just communicating that you would like the check split can be a little difficult sometimes. So it's usually easier for one person just to pay and then figure it out later. And SplitWise, the app that Ashley mentioned, we've used twice now with Laura, and it works pretty great. You just have to actually keep your receipts and write down like what something was for. So you still have to be like on top of it. You have to be diligent, but it's great for helping split stuff up because it balances it. It's like, well, you spent 200, you spent 100, but this person's paying for 2 people, you're paying for 1 person. So the math is you owe them $5.
Yeah.
In the end.
It's great. I think it worked out really well. The second thing on my list is location.
Yeah. So this is something that Ashley and I run into all the time, and I feel like we found a good balance. But when you're traveling with a friend, it can be important to make sure that you're on the same page about specifically where you want to go. So are you going to London and you're just going to stay in the city center and see the eye and like the high streets and some of the things? Or do you want to go into the countryside and see nature and view the greenery and hear the birds chirp and the lambs lambs bleat.
Yeah.
There we go. Like, so what are you interested in seeing? Do you want to go to the mountains, or are you like a city girl? Like, what are you guys gonna do? Can you find a balance? Are both of you on the same page?
Yeah. Why go on vacation with someone if you're gonna split up and do 2 different things for the majority of the time? For a day or 2, that's fine. But depending on how long your trip is.
Depending on how well you're communicating, you're like, we're going to Italy, and they're like, awesome, we're gonna go see Rome and the Colosseum, and you're like, yeah, I was thinking like the vineyards and like the Dolomites, like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Obviously that will be ironed out, but it's really good to make sure that you're on the same page about specifically what you plan to do. Maybe you can even bullet point it by day, like today we're doing this and this.
Not everybody's that organized.
I'm just saying, like today we plan to go out to the countryside. Today we plan to stay in the city.
Which bleeds into our next one is activities.
Activities.
So when you're planning activities, one of the concerns that Josh and I were talking about is if you're a night person and the person you're traveling with is a morning person,
right.
and say you want to go out partying, but the person that you're traveling along with is not a partier, does not like to be in those environments, then it makes it really difficult. So it's much easier just to go travel with people who are into and interested in the same things. Like Josh and I, we like to be in by 9 p.m. Two of us.
We both agree that that's a nice time to be in our home.
But so that really helps a lot.
We're also not both partiers, and neither is Laura, so that works great.
Yeah, it worked out really good. Laura's a morning person, like she gets up.
Laura gets up earlier than us.
Yeah.
I feel like we've slacked off being morning people because our schedules are so erratic usually.
Yeah.
But she held her schedule pretty good.
Yeah, it was nice to be with someone who was, I guess, motivating for us, you know, to get up and get out there and see a city. And I really, really liked it. It was,
and and just for instance, I'm more introverted and Ashley is a bit more extroverted. When you're talking about activities, it can be good to keep in account that some people get mentally exhausted just by being around a bunch of people. So maybe 12 hours hanging out in large crowds isn't the ideal situation, and you just need to have a conversation about that. Like, feel each other out. Like, so does this sound fun? Like, what are we feeling? And just be honest with your travel buddy, because you're going to be with them for a week or so, however long your vacation is.
Yeah, I feel like sometimes while you're out and about, maybe you don't know that an activity isn't really your thing, but when you're out there, it's like, oh no, this is not what I was expecting, this is not what I wanted. So just to communicate that with whoever you're traveling with.
One thing we touched on a little bit earlier, the fourth tip is food needs.
Yeah, so food I think is really important, specifically for me because I get really hangry, and so just know that about the person you're traveling with, whether they need to eat consistently, whether they have specific food needs, like
dietary concerns.
Yeah, like if they're vegetarian, vegan, and maybe beforehand looking at places that they can find, the food easy instead of spending a lot of time searching for something while you're already out.
Right.
That wastes a lot of time.
In addition to that, like, this goes a bit more into like the budgeting and different things, but are you planning to eat out all the time?
Right.
Or is one of you going to cook? Are you going to share cooking? Like,
are you going to share groceries?
Yep. Are you going to always eat breakfast in, but then like have a brunch and then maybe dinner like half the time?
Yeah, I think that like really helps with making a good trip is understanding like where you're going to eat, what you're going to eat, how you're going to eat, like who's going to do what.
You may not have to nail all the specifics, but as long as you have an understanding, I think, of you expect to eat in and out this much, and hopefully you're both willing to take on some of the cooking if you're doing that, or cook together.
Yeah.
Not that I do that.
And or have facilities to cook.
Right. Yeah. Is your Airbnb or hotel gonna have cooking facilities?
Hotels barely have them. Hostels have them available, but usually around dinner time, everyone's in the kitchen, so it's like just a mess. And so we prefer Airbnbs where I have a kitchen and I can figure out every time we go to a new Airbnb, I look and see what's available to me, and then I know what I can cook and what we can have for food. And lastly, I'll do communication, you can do expectations.
Okay.
You wanted expectations.
Okay, I forget what that means, but we'll go into it.
I put communication because, like I said before, you could go into a situation thinking it's one way and then be like completely shocked and want to leave. So just communicate with the person that you're with, how you're feeling, how you're doing. If you're going to a country that's like a third world country, sometimes that can be really difficult on people. Like really just seeing something new, culture shock. It's really good to be with someone where you can talk those things out, share those things, but be sure to do that because culture shock or seeing new things that you've never seen before, that can make a difference on your vacation or wherever you're at. if you're able to communicate it and just kind of talk through it.
So along with communication, there are expectations and the communicating of your expectations. So Ashley was talking about culture shock and like what you're experiencing, but perhaps what you're doing, like the activities you plan, the food that you're doing, the budget that you're spending, these aren't in line with your expectations, and communicating that to your travel buddy is super important.
Yeah.
So if things aren't going the way that you thought they were going to be going, maybe that's an issue for you, maybe that's an issue for your partner, but you do need to communicate it and say, hey, I just say like, I thought, or maybe these words aren't the best, but throwing them out there like, I thought that we were going to be doing it this way. I may be incorrect. Can we like figure it out?
And I think that travel just creates a lot of stress. Like there is a lot of stress in travel.
It can be.
Whether it's like on a travel day or when you're out,
it doesn't have to be.
But there are miscommunications, and so being communicative when there are miscommunications, just working through that with whoever you're traveling with. We have to do this all the time. You know, communicating it and.
Ashley and I feel like we do a pretty good job. We have our moments where we break down in communication, we break down in expectations. Well, we're kind of on the same place on budget and other places, but
because our money's the same.
We just like, well, let's spend the least amount possible, unless it comes to ice cream and occasionally a coffee.
But yeah, I mean, definitely we have miscommunications quite often, or.
But you can't let it build up. You have to like constantly be like, okay, we need to talk about this.
Yeah.
And you also have to be willing to listen. That's probably the problem that I have the most is like, we don't need to talk about it. It's fine, whatever. And I'll just like blow it off. But then like the way we travel, it's continuous. A month later, it all builds up, and then we have to have like a big talk about it, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
It's good to know how your partner reacts in stressful situations.
Mm-hmm.
I get so much anxiety and it builds up, and I am so stressed, so then I am easily like poked and prodded, and sometimes you know that and poke and prod, and sometimes you're really sensitive to it. But
I have a naturally offensive personality, and it's hard not to do that to my partner all the time. I'm great at riling people up, and I try not to.
Oh yeah,
but
you were way worse when we first got married. And
I was actually
so
bad.
Much better. Yeah.
All right, I think we've talked about this long enough. It's starting to turn into Josh as a bad person. So
no,
I'm just kidding.
That's not.
But
we've learned.
Yeah, we have. We really have.
Traveling with someone else is not easy. I think that it's not easy, but it's really like awesome to have somebody along the way.
It can be super rewarding
together.
To have like that shared experience together.
Yeah. Yeah, so I hope we encouraged you to get out and travel today. I hope that we gave you some tips for traveling with someone else. If we've missed anything, please put it down below, because I really hope these videos help people out, like when they're planning trips and when they're planning to go with someone else. So yeah, take our tips, use them, and we'll see you in the next video.
All right, bye.
Bye.
Ciao, ciao.
Happy Tuesday.